Right now, your mind is like a radio that is stuck between stations. You can almost hear the frequency of the life you want. That version of you who wakes up and feels really alive, who feels really magnetic, who has the relationship that feels both safe and spicy at the same time, who has the money, the freedom, the ease. It's like you can almost make it out, but there's so much static, right? There's so much noise that the signal never fully comes in. And so you start trying things, right? You try new habits, new morning routines, new affirmations. You read all the books, you binge the courses, you binge the podcasts, the YouTubes, you force your way through yet another practice or reset of some sort. And things shift a little. Sometimes they shift for a week, sometimes for a month. And then somehow, without you even noticing, you're back to where you started. So today, I want to show you why that keeps happening and why it has nothing to do with how hard you're working or how much action you're taking. The problem is your attention, which is the most powerful creative tool you possess. And your attention has been stolen and you don't even know that it's gone. I like to think of your attention like an energy beam, okay? It's like you are beaming your life force energy out at all these different things in your external reality. You're beaming your energy at your problems, at what's missing, at what's not working, at the drama or the amount of money in your bank account, the news, scrolling. And here's the thing. What you are beaming your energy at is what determines your frequency, because your attention is the actual mechanism through which you tune your mind to a frequency. And your inner frequency is what determines everything that you experience in your reality, okay? As within, so without. Once you understand how this actually works at the level of your brain, at the level of your consciousness, you are never going to think about your attention in the same way again. So let's get into it. In quantum physics, there is an experiment called the double slit experiment. And what it shows us is that subatomic particles or electrons don't actually behave as solid physical things until they're observed. Before observation, they just exist as waves, as pure potential, as every possible version of themselves simultaneously floating in what physicists call the quantum field, which is a unified field of information and possibility. Now, the moment an observer looks at the electrons, they collapse into one specific particle, one specific location, one specific physical reality. What this means is that your observation, your attention, is what collapses possibility into form and into matter. The double slit experiment is the most replicated experiment in quantum physics. And what I personally love about it is that the very act of observation changes what is being observed. When we talk about frequency, about tuning your mind to match your desired reality, we're not talking about positive thinking. We're not talking about fake it till you make it. We are talking about the literal physics of how consciousness interacts with potential. Your desired reality already exists now as a wave of potential energy in the field. So the only question is, what is your attention currently collapsing into form? Now, a lot of you who are watching this right now are probably going through something, right? You might feel like you used to be really magnetic, you used to be really in flow, things would just manifest for you quickly and easily. And then in the last 5 years or so, it's like your magnetism dimmed and the manifesting slowed down, or it's just not freaking working at all. Why is that? I have this cute little diagram for you. This is you with a big heart and a crown on your head because you're a queen. And this is the version of you who has a very clean magnetic field. You've got abundance flowing in, there's health, there's joy, there's peace, creativity, you have clarity, connection, and love. It's all flowing in because your nervous system is regulated, your energy is good, you're embodying your highest self, you're meditating, you're focused on your health, on your goals, you're aligned with your purpose, you're listening to your intuition. Everything is flowing and you're thriving. And then what happens to our magnetic field as we move through life? So I'll tell you my story of what happened. This was sad little me 3 years ago, and it started with a heartbreak. I was dating a very emotionally unavailable, avoidant guy who was absolutely wrecking my nervous system. So my attention, my life force energy, that big energy beam, was focused so much on the relationship. So that's probably where 70% of my energy was going. Now, this relationship was also making me sick because of the stress and the anxiety. So I'm experiencing debilitating stomach pain. And so now I've got my attention going out to my health and to my gut symptoms. My attention is also now going to my body because now I'm so freaking self-conscious because I'm chronically bloated half the time, looking 8 months pregnant. This means I don't have much life force energy left over for my business because it's focused on the guy that's draining me. It's focused on my health and my symptoms. So then my business is suffering and I'm not making as much money as I need to be, which causes my life force energy and my attention then to constantly be on lack and money and my business problems. Then I'm starting to scroll more on social media. I'm getting stuck in comparison with other people online who are making lots more money than me and who are getting lots more visibility than me. So now obviously the business is suffering because my life force energy, my attention isn't in me. My attention is not where I want it to be. My attention has been taken away from my own purpose and my own vision. And this is so important to take note of. When you aren't fully in your body, the universe absolutely will not support that. So because my energy and my attention wasn't in me and it was going everywhere else outside of me, nothing was flowing. Everything felt hard. My magnetism was dimmed. I got just really out of alignment and off track with my purpose and my vision. So let's talk about where your attention actually is right now. From the moment you open your eyes in the morning, your frontal lobe activates and your conscious awareness automatically and without your permission flows down familiar neural pathways. This looks like the same thoughts, the same worries, and the same basically categories of problems, okay? Categories of money, the relationship, or maybe it's the lack of your relationship, your body, your appearance, your business, what she said the other day, what hasn't happened yet, what you're afraid might happen. And each thought triggers the next, which fires the same emotion and which locks you into the same frequency every single day. Your brain is not designed to show you the full range of possibility. It is designed to confirm what you already believe. RJ Spina, who wrote the book, The Law of Attention, puts it this way. Your conscious awareness flows wherever your habitual attention has carved a channel. And if that channel runs through fear, lack, and survival, that is the only water your mind knows how to carry. Here's what's happening energetically when your attention is scattered and externally focused all day long. You are pouring your creative life force, your actual energy, into everything you don't want, into every problem, into every fear, every comparison, every scroll, and you are getting no return on that investment. You are literally just hemorrhaging your power. So in my example, it was like every day, all day, my attention and my life force energy was just going towards chasing this guy, worrying if he was going to leave, worrying if he was going to choose me, wondering if I'm pretty enough. Okay, well, maybe I should try and be cooler. Maybe I should be chill. Oh my God, my stomach hurts. What is going on? Should I get a gut test? Why am I getting bloated after every freaking meal I eat? Oh my God, I look so pregnant. I feel so ugly. I need to work on my business, but now I don't feel good. My stomach hurts. Why is it so hard to sign clients? Am I in the wrong niche? Maybe I should switch my niche. Maybe I should launch podcasts. My bank account keeps going down and down. I am so stressed out. Oh my God, why did he say that? Did I do something wrong? Like, his energy just changed. The painful irony is this: the thing you want to create, a new reality, a new experience, a new version of yourself, requires your creative energy to build it. But if you've left your battery running all day on empty, there's going to be nothing left to create with. This is why you can know everything about manifestation, frequency, and energy and still not see results, because the knowing is in your conscious mind, but your attention is still pouring out in all the wrong directions. What you place your attention on, especially with emotion attached, you are tuning your mind to that frequency. You are telling the quantum field, please collapse more of this into my reality. And anything that you attach to with emotion and attention has no other choice but to persist. This is the law of resonance, right? Like attracts like. Radio tuned to, let's say, 98.5 FM doesn't receive 103.7. Not because 103.7 doesn't exist, but just because it's not tuned to that frequency. So when your attention has been externally scattered for a really long time, it starts to show up in very specific ways. You might feel a persistent low-grade lack of motivation, like you know what you want to do, but you can't quite access the drive to do it. You might also feel burnt out even when you haven't really done that much at all. You might struggle to make decisions, you seek approval or reassurance from outside of yourself before you'll even trust yourself to choose a direction. You also feel confused about what you actually want. You feel like you're never fully present. You're always either somewhere in the past or in the future. You're never really quite here. You also might have a weak sense of self and purpose. You feel anxious or dependent on external things like a compliment, social media validation, a response to regulate how you feel. And none of that is a character flaw. None of that is who you really are. This is just what happens to a woman when her attention has been given away, either to social media, to a toxic relationship, to other people's lives, or to problems that simply just don't have solutions, or fears that haven't happened yet. You've essentially left yourself. You've been so far outside of your own body, your own energy, your own field, that you've lost that contact with your own power. Your awareness, your life force energy is constantly flowing outward to the relationship, to the money, to the lack of money, to what your body looks like, to what is happening in your business, to other people's lives and what they have that you don't, or maybe to the news, maybe to drama, to what you're afraid might happen, to social media, to scrolling on Instagram at 11 p.m. when you should be sleeping. And then your center is empty and it's running on fumes. And this is why everything feels like too much. It's why the business feels like something you don't really have the space for. This is why it feels like either or instead of both and. Like you can't have the career and the presence and the relationship and the body and the peace all at once. It's not because those things aren't available to you, but it's because you're operating from this very empty center and there's simply just no capacity left. Where you place your attention and give your energy, and whatever you give your energy to consistently, emotionally, has no choice but to persist in your reality. And that is not woo, that is neuroscience. Your brain actually builds neural pathways around what you repeatedly focus on. Pathways you walk down most become the most automatic. So the stress spiral about money is going to become this groove, okay? The comparison loop is also going to become a groove. The self-doubt becomes a groove. And then one day, it just feels like reality, but it was never reality. It was just a very well-worn path. The good news is that this is completely reversible and it doesn't take years to undo. So when you start to pull your attention back genuinely and consistently as a practice, the reconnection happens fast. And on the other side, what you have is high self-trust, clear intuition, strong boundaries, a sense of presence and aliveness in your own body, decisions that come easily, internal validation that isn't contingent on anything outside of you, right? Energy, actual energy, because you're not leaking it everywhere. That version of you is not built through more effort. She's built through reclamation and through pulling back what was never supposed to leave. So how do you actually get your attention back? There are 3 steps, and the order matters because most people try to do step 3 before they've done step 1, and that's why nothing sticks. So step 1 is to regulate your nervous system, because you cannot choose where to place your attention when your nervous system is dysregulated and it thinks that you're being chased by a literal bear, okay? When you are dysregulated, when you're in that very anxious, overthinking, scanning for threats type of state, your brain is not capable of accessing the higher creative faculties that you need to create your dream life. And this is because your prefrontal cortex, the part that is responsible for vision, for clarity, and for intentional thought, goes completely offline because your body is in survival mode. And from survival mode, all you can really do is react. And girl to girl, chronic dysregulation costs you so much. It costs you your intuition. It costs you your identity. It costs you your capacity, and it costs you your body, which is what happened to me. I got disconnected from my intuition. I lost the capacity to be able to focus on my business. I got out of alignment with my purpose, and my gut became a mess. So step one is not a mindset practice. It is actually a body practice. You have to feel your way back to experiencing safety and pleasure in the body. Actually have a completely free 5-minute nervous system reset video that you can do every single day to build that safety back into your body. So I'll leave the link to the practice below. I want to quickly share why this little 5-minute practice is so much more powerful than what it might seem in the moment, because you might be thinking, okay, cool, 5-minute nervous system reset. I'll do it once and it felt really great, but I'll never do it again. But it's actually one of the most life-changing habits that you can do for yourself daily. And here is why. There is this thing called vagal tone. And you can think of vagal tone like the fitness level of your nervous system. So just like you can build strength in your muscles, you can build strength in your vagus nerve. And your vagus nerve is everything. It's the main highway between your brain and your body. And it's essentially what determines how quickly you can move from stress back to safety. When your vagal tone is low, which is most of us, honestly, because of chronic stress, poor sleep, scrolling, all that sort of thing, your window of tolerance is narrow, which means that small things feel really big. You can get triggered really easily. You can't think straight when you're emotional. You feel like you're either wired and anxious or you're completely shut down and numb, and there's not really a lot of middle ground. When your vagal tone is high, that window expands, so you can handle more stress without losing yourself. You can come back to your center faster. You feel more present in your body. You feel just more grounded in who you are. And here's what I love about this. Vagal tone is trainable. It's not fixed, which means that this little 5-minute practice is genuinely moving the needle on something that is really fundamental. So in the first couple of weeks of doing the practice every day, you'll probably just notice that you feel really freaking good after doing it. You feel more grounded, you feel clearer, maybe you're sleeping a little bit deeper. But then by the end of the first month, something starts to shift at a baseline level. It's like your body is learning this as a pattern of safety. You are noticing that you're recovering from stressful moments a lot faster. And by month 2, you might notice that your relationships are shifting because a regulated nervous system stops reading threat in neutral situations. So maybe you're not projecting as much, you're less reactive with the people closest to you, you feel safer to yourself, which means that you also show up differently with others. By month 3, if you've been consistent, your window of tolerance has genuinely expanded. And this isn't just a feeling. This means that your vagal tone has increased. Your amygdala has been retrained to scan for safety more than danger. The thing I really want you to land on is this. Everything that you want to create, every version of yourself you're trying to step into, requires a regulated nervous system as the foundation. You cannot think your way into a new reality from a dysregulated state. It's like the body has to feel safe enough to receive it. So this practice is building that. 5 minutes in the morning, that is the ask. And yeah, your nervous system will do the rest. So you can grab the free practice below. Now, when your nervous system finally gets the signal that you're safe, something in you shifts. It's like the anxiety starts to quiet. Maybe the obsessive loops start to loosen. And then for the first time in a long time, you have a little space, okay? A little stillness. And that is when step 2 becomes possible. So step 2 in taking back your attention is meditation. If you want to master your attention, then you need to build the skill of becoming the observer of your thoughts so that you can control your thoughts and then choose what you want to focus on instead. I think that a lot of people believe meditation is really all about relaxation and emptying the mind, but it is way more powerful than that. So I have a really good metaphor for you. You can think of your habitual thoughts like a river with a strong current. Every morning when you wake up, your awareness drops into the water. And without choosing to, without even noticing, you get swept downstream, okay? You get swept down the same current and in the same direction. So money, relationship, body, business, what she said, And at this point, you're not swimming, you're really just being carried. So what meditation does is it pulls you out of the water and onto the bank. And then from the bank, you can now see the whole river laid out in front of you. So you're not in it anymore. You're not being swept. You're just watching. That is the observer state. And from the bank, for the first time, you get to choose where to step back in. Napoleon Hill called this drifting, surrendering your mind to habit and circumstance without ever consciously choosing a direction. So it feels normal from the inside because you're moving. You just have no idea who's steering. So meditation is how you take the wheel back. I started consistently meditating 3 months ago. What I noticed is I'm just so much more aware of my thoughts. So for example, I'll be riding my motorbike and a thought will pop in about my finances. And normally what would happen is I'd have this negative thought about my finances, and then that thought would trigger another negative thought, and then that negative thought would trigger another negative thought. And it's like I would just get caught up in this negative thought spiral. But now I'm able to stop the loop before it catches on and really just messes with my vibe. And then what I'll normally do in the morning is I'll wake up and straight away I will go for a walk with my boyfriend James and my dog, and I won't check my phone. And then I'll come back. I will take my collagen powder mix. I'll take my supplements, and then I will meditate right afterwards. And I have this rule where I'm not allowed to check my phone until I meditate because I don't want the external world or the day to control my state. It's like I don't want to see something on Instagram and immediately be programmed, or open some sort of a work email and then start reacting to what's coming at me, right? It's like I want to be the one who controls my vibration and the one who controls my state. This makes such a difference. So I recommend that you make meditation the very first thing that you do every day, and you create some sort of a rule around it. So maybe you meditate at the same time each day. Maybe you meditate in the same place each day, which is what I would recommend. Or you could even do something that's more radical, like you're not allowed to brush your teeth in the morning until you meditate, but you have to make it a non-negotiable. So I'll take my walk, I'll take my supplements, and then I'll meditate. And I used to try and meditate lying down, but I would always fall asleep, which actually just defeats the purpose of meditation. So now I sit up, I will prop a pillow behind my back to keep me comfortable, and then I will cross my legs in the lotus position. And then as I start to meditate, I still my mind. And what typically happens for me is maybe the first 5 to 10 minutes, I'll notice that a bunch of thoughts will come to mind. And these are thoughts that essentially just need to be processed once. So they're thoughts maybe from the past day or so, or maybe the past week, but they're thoughts that really just need to be completed. So I'll just allow those thoughts to complete. Sometimes I end up going down a little bit of a rabbit hole with my thoughts, which is totally fine. That's totally normal. I'll just observe, and then I'll bring myself back to my breath and back to the present moment again. And really that is all meditation is. It's like you're training your mind to bring your awareness back to the present moment and to detach from your habitual thought patterns. You're training yourself to think the thought, to process it, and then to come back to the present moment again. The days when I feel totally scattered, totally overwhelmed, and the days where I know I have a million things on my to-do list and I just absolutely can't focus, those are the days where meditation is an absolute game changer for me. And those are probably the days where you will want to skip meditation the most, but do not skip it. Here is why. On the days you're scattered, this is what your brain waves look like. You're in incoherent beta, right? Your brain waves are simply just all over the place. They're all over the show. And here's what's happening when you're in incoherent beta. Your brain is bouncing between different neural networks. It's bouncing between your finances, your relationship, your body, what's happening with the business, what's happening with your job or the news. And it's doing this rapidly and without resolution. And each network fires its own associated emotions. So you're not just thinking about money stress, you're also feeling the cortisol spike that comes with it. And then you're immediately jumping from money stress to relationship anxiety, and you're feeling that. And then you're jumping over to body shame and then back to money. And the result is that your brain is consuming enormous amounts of energy just to sustain this chaos. So this is why you feel exhausted even when you haven't done anything. What does this do to your frequency specifically? In this state, your dominant emotions are anxiety, scarcity, and hypervigilance. And of course, those are very low frequency emotional states. And because your frequency is determined by your dominant emotional state, that becomes your baseline signal. So this is what you're broadcasting, and that is what the quantum field is receiving from you and collapsing more of. You are essentially vibrating at the frequency of everything you don't want, and you're broadcasting it constantly at full volume with full emotional intensity attached. What does this do to your perception? High beta narrows your perceptual field. So your reticular activating system, which is the brain's filter for what information gets through to your conscious awareness, is set to threat scan mode. So you literally cannot see opportunities, synchronicities, or possibilities that are right in front of you because your brain is filtering them out as irrelevant to survival. This is why the same women in a regulated state and a dysregulated state can look at the same situation and perceive completely different realities. And then lastly, here's what this does to your nervous system. Incoherent beta activates the sympathetic nervous system. So your cortisol rises, your digestion slows, your reproductive hormones suppress. And this is also why chronic dysregulation affects your physical body, right? So your hormones, your gut, your skin, your cycle. And this is exactly what was happening with me and my stomach pain and my bloating and my inability to focus on my business. That was incoherent brain waves and a dysregulated nervous system physically manifesting in my body. My body thought I was in danger. And so it was doing its job to protect me, but it just simply didn't know that the danger was a situationship. In conclusion, you need to meditate, and I will leave that one with you. Now, once you've regulated your nervous system, once you've started meditating consistently, something beautiful really starts to happen. You get your life force energy back. You get yourself back. And for the first time in maybe a long time, you have the capacity to actually hear your intuition, to connect with your vision, and to ask yourself what you actually want, not what you're afraid of, not what's going wrong, not what needs to be fixed, but what you genuinely desire. And that is when step 3 becomes possible. So step 3 is this: consciously choose what you want to focus your attention on. And this is the step that changes everything, because you get to choose from clarity, from your actual values, and from your truest, most aligned version of what you want your life to actually look like. And I know when I was in scarcity mode, I was in a niche that I didn't really love anymore. I was teaching messaging to coaches who sell more intangible offers like life coaches, relationship coaches, that sort of thing. But because I never allowed myself to slow down and get clear, it's like I kept forcing misaligned actions and getting even more burnt out. And my bank account just kept going down and down and down. And signing clients kept becoming harder and harder and harder. But when I finally decided to slow down and regulate my nervous system, and when I started meditating consistently, when I called my attention and my energy back, it's like everything I actually wanted became so clear. And my intuition just started screaming at me. At that point, my intuition was like, Laura, you are in the wrong niche. You need to launch a YouTube. You need to launch a business about what you actually love, which for me, that's nervous system, that's manifestation, it's subconscious rewiring, identity, feminine energy, like that sort of thing. So I literally blew up my old business to create a brand new business and build new offers and launch on YouTube. And now I feel like I'm thriving. Like I just launched a brand new low ticket offer called Hot and Regulated. And I already got 27 people into the challenge, and it just felt like a super easy and flowy launch. And I have so much creative energy. Whereas before it's like I had no energy to create content. I never wanted to create content actually. Like I didn't want to create YouTubes or threads or TikToks or any of that stuff. And now I feel like so inspired to create content on all of the platforms, and I'm growing followers and subscribers every day. Whereas before I was hardly growing any new followers. Actually, if I think about my Instagram, I didn't grow on Instagram for years. You need to ask yourself, what do I actually want to experience? Not what do I think I should want, not what looks good, but what does my heart genuinely desire? And really get clear on that and write it down and make it real. And then you just want to make sure that what you're focusing on is what you want, right? Not on what you don't want. And I know that sounds really obvious, but here's the thing. A lot of us spend the majority of our mental energy focused on what we don't want. It's focused on our problems, on what's missing, on what hasn't happened yet, on what we're trying to avoid. And because of everything we've been talking about today, because attention is the mechanism that collapses reality into form, that is exactly what keeps on persisting. Let's say that A is the unwanted condition, and then B is what you desire. So most people stay at A. They keep thinking about A, they keep talking about A, they're fighting with A, but they wonder why B never arrives, because resistance is just another intense form of focus. So you're still pointing your energy beam directly at the thing that you don't want. So the practice I want to give you right now helps you train your brain to focus on what it is you want. And it's one of my absolute favorites. And it comes directly from the book Parallel Universes of Self by Frederick Dodson. And it's just called, I think he calls it like a daily intention list. But here's how it works. Every morning, ideally right after you meditate, and when your mind is clear and your nervous system is calm, you write down what you want to experience that day. Not necessarily what you want to get done or like your to-do list, but what you would actually love to happen and what would feel really good for you. For example, things that were on my list today were, today I had a really deep meditation and I came up with a really aligned idea for my business. Today I woke up to an extra 10 people in my program. Today I received a couple applications for my one-on-one mentorship. Today I created content and it felt really flowy. It felt really easy. I felt really confident at Toastmasters because I'm going to Toastmasters for the first time tonight to practice my public speaking. So like things like that. It's more about things that you'd like to receive or things that you'd love to create. And the key rule and the one practice that makes this actually work is you let go of any expectation that these things absolutely have to happen. It's more like you're just kind of planting seeds and being playful and having fun and just writing down things that would feel exciting to happen, and then you get to just release it. And what this does is it trains your reticular activating system, which is your brain's filter, to start scanning your environment for evidence of what you want instead of what you don't want or what you fear. So you're literally reprogramming what your brain notices, and what you notice, you move towards. It's super fun because some things on your list will actually happen, and obviously some of them won't, but all of them will raise your frequency while you're writing them, because you are finally pointing your attention, your energy beam in the right direction. And this is how you start using your attention differently. And the only reason you experience the same things on repeat is because you've been using your attention in the same way on repeat, right? So if you change the attention, you change the reality. So that's it. That is the whole thing. Regulate your nervous system, get your life force energy back into your own body, and then meditate, okay? Become the observer, catch the thoughts, take back the wheel. And then from that clear, calm, recharged place, consciously choose what you want to focus on. So write it down every morning and point your energy beam at what you want. Every single day, you are collapsing some version of reality into form with your consciousness. The question is just, which version? Now, if you loved this video, please leave a like or a comment and hit the subscribe button, because this is a brand new channel and every little bit means so much to me. So I love you guys, and I will see you in the next week. Bye.